As the saying goes, in space, no one can hear you scream. But at the space around your TTRPG table, we'll find out if that's the case. Hello and welcome to Fly Like a D6, a tabletop role-playing game review show. If you like what we do here at Fly Like a D6 and Snyder's Return, then please hit that like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we release new videos. Today we're going to be looking at Alien. The Alien TTRPG by Free League Publishing is based on the 1979 film Alien and its subsequent continuity. That film starring Sigourney Weaver playing Ellen Ripley and directed by Ridley Scott. Alien is a sci-fi horror game that allows us to play in two modes. One is a cinematic mode and the other one is campaign play. And the game is structured using Free League Publishing's own Year Zero. And the game is structured using Free League Publishing's own system, the Year Zero engine. More into the mechanics shortly. Hi everybody, Adam here from Fly Like a D6 of Snyder's Return. Just want to say a massive thank you to Free League Publishing for sending me everything you're going to see in this review with respect to the Alien TTRPG. Scroll down, follow the links and support Free League Publishing on the Alien RPG and all the other fantastic products they create. Enjoy the review. The Alien RPG was created by Thomas Tarenstam of Free League Publishing, and its continuity is based around the writings of Andrew E.C. Gasker, who is the official continuity writer for the Alien franchise. But what about playing at your table? How do you play in this world? Well, we'll go into character creation. So now we know what the Alien system is, a sci-fi horror TTRPG from Free League that uses the Year Zero engine, and we'll touch on the mechanics a bit more shortly. What about characters? Who can you embody in this world of deep space, sci-fi horror, mystery and intrigue? The character sheet, available on the Free League website, goes through a number of core skills, but we'll start at the hub in the middle, your attributes. When you do character creation, effectively first level, you gain 14 points to distribute between your 4 core attributes, be that strength, agility, wits and empathy. They then break down into your skills that directly link to those attributes, such as ranged combat for agility, close combat for strength, and you have 10 points to distribute out as you see fit, up to a maximum of 5 points within those skills. You'll see in the center is your name, then what career you have chosen. So from the core rulebook, you can be a colonial marine, a colonial marshal, a company agent, a kid, a medic, an officer, a pilot, a roughneck, or a scientist. You also have the choice of whether you want to be a human, like Ripley, for example, or one of the colonial marines, we'll touch on again very shortly, or if you want to be an android, like Ash, or, spoilers, or Bishop, for example. Beneath your career is your appearance, a brief outline of your appearance. Below that, the skills we've just discussed, and then it feeds outwards. So on the left hand side you have a personal agenda, something that your character wants to achieve. There's some great ideas given for each character in the book, and it sort of really builds that nuance that each character is different and wants to achieve something that meets their ends. It could be getting a promotion, acquiring a sample, escaping from someone, or getting to someone. Speaking of people, Just below is your buddies and rivals, a great system which helps build a dynamic within a group. Your buddies and rivals may not necessarily be other players or other members of your crew, depending on how you are framing this as a game. It could be an NPC. And those buddies and rivals can really help mix up the roleplay aspects when it comes to certain situations, downtime in between tasks or missions, or even choices to be made at crunch moments within high-paced action. Below that is your stress level. This is a crucial element of the Year Zero engine. Alien uses these D6 dice. Now you'll notice they are in two different colours. The black ones, or the dice you have available to you, a D6, are what you will roll for your core skills. These yellow ones are your stress dice. Again, if you don't have these, which are available from 3D Publishing and other retailers, then have a set of D6 which are of a different size or a different colour available to you to use as your stress dice. Why are they different? Why are they important? Well, the D6 Year Zero engine works that as long as you roll a single 6 during your roll, you will achieve what your character is attempting, be that firing their weapon, using a piece of equipment, opening a door. There are variables to this, but your pool is made up from your core attributes and your skills. That forms your dice pool. If you were to fail a roll, however, with the exception of androids, you are able to push the roll. So you're able to re-roll your D6 pool with the addition of a stress dice. Now it doesn't matter if you get a 6 on the black one, or if you get a 6 on the yellow one. They still count as successes. The important thing about the stress dice is this, the 1. You can see there with the facehugger motif on it. Again, if you don't have these dice, a separate dice indicating a 1 would cause the stress mechanic to kick in. And stress overwrites whatever your character is attempting to do in that moment. And you roll on a separate table, and if your stress reaches over a threshold, then you begin to panic. You begin to drop your weapon. You begin to lose your grip on the situation in one way or another. It's a wonderful mechanic. Below your stress is your health. Your health is directly related to your strength. You see beneath that radiation. So if you're going out into space where you could be affected by the radiation in space, or if you're going near a power reactor, such as in the ships or in a mining facility, for example, then your radiation, when it reaches a certain threshold, will then begin to take away your health and start to kill you. You also have conditions to contend with and consumables, and they will depend on the style of game you are playing as to how much you really dig into those mechanics. But again, they're very simple. Using the D6 we have seen so much so far. On the right hand side, coming down that column, talents. These are things that your character specifically is able to do. They could be helping with analysis if you're a scientist. They could be making you harder to kill. They could be making you more capable of dealing with stress or pushing yourself beyond limits. They're all laid out in the core rulebook and additional supplements. One to look at. Experience points. So experience tracks with the player, not the character. So if you earn experience and story points, you can carry them on through to better your character, or such with story points that you can carry them to the next game. Tell your game mother that you have a story point and they should honour that, as it allows characters and players who have built through scenarios, survived potentially these encounters with factions from across the known universe, the known setting, set out by Ridley Scott in the original Inception as director, and carried on through by Andrew E.C. Gasker as part of the continuity. Below that you have tiny items and a signature item. So tiny items are anything like these dice that can be taken in the hand, put in the pocket, easily enough to conceal or hold and wield without any issue. A signature item can be used in times of respite, in times of peace, to try and lower your stress. Again, androids don't come under the stress rules, but that's something you can negotiate with your game mother. Your signature item can only be used once though. You can only draw solace, you can only draw strength or resolve from that signature item once, and then it becomes just another item, another tool. Speaking of tool, you have gear and weapons down in this bottom right hand corner. The gear can be made up of what sort of armor you're wearing, or torch, or literal tools that you may have as part of your character build. Then you have your weapons, and combat we'll go into very shortly. For those of you looking at this pure black and sort of off green, which beautifully matches the aesthetic of Alien, don't worry. On the Free League website you can print out or download printer friendly versions, so not to use up all your ink in one session effectively. Layout is exactly the same, but it is just printer friendly. So when it comes to combat and encounters with enemies and opposing forces and even natural events, Alien works on a zonal system. So things are done in ranges. You can move one zone or through one zone and into the next as part of your move action. Drawing a weapon and firing a weapon are split between quick and slow actions. Some game mothers may tweak how these rules are run, but the idea is that it's a narrative game. It is fast moving. There's very little in the rules that will slow down to a grind. If you want to fire a weapon, you roll the dice pool associated with it, so agility and range combat to fire your pistol or your assault rifle, and that will be over a certain range, and then damage is calculated already, plus any successes over the top of that singular success you need to achieve that action. So you build a crew. You get a group together, you get a crew together. You want to fly off into deep space and chase down mysteries. You could be a haulage team, such as similar to that in the Alien film. You could be different. You could be space truckers, or you could take on a detachment of colonial marshals to go and investigate things on other worlds. You could be medics, going out to do some sort of aid work. Whatever you choose to do, Free League have offered up the ability to create your own craft, your own home, laid down in a character sheet effectively of its own. What modules you have in there, sleep pods, escape shuttles, med pods, and so on and so forth. How much it costs you to lease the thing. How many of you can it hold? How fast does it go? What kind of hull and armor does it have? How strong are they? How much damage can it take? What upgrades have you been able to afford or steal or acquire from in other ways for you to carry on through? Also a ship's log. Where have you been? What have you done? What have you traded, if anything? It's all captured here. But what if you are in the middle of space? How does space combat work in a game primarily about being in cramped ducts and corridors on space stations and ground bases and mines and so on and so forth? Again, space combat relies on a zonal system. If you are in the same zone, then you are engaged, and then the further apart you get to the point where you can effectively either ghost out of sight, putting on some sort of shield or stealth technology, or your opponent moves out of range. There are options to shut the entire ship down and creep by silently or stealthily. But this is all required by crew maneuvers, again, which is handled sublimely within the rules. Next, we'll touch on what next. You have gathered a group, you have taken the role of game mother, you've read through the core rulebook, and you now want to run this for your group, for your band of spacefarers, be they ordinary folk or militarized in some way, shape, form, or description. How do you go about it? What's the lay of the land here? Who can they come up against? At the back of the core rulebook is this, Hope's Last Day. This cinematic, tense adventure takes place on Hadley's Hope and really sets the scene as to how the game works and how characters can respond to the stimulus. Now, I won't spoil the whole adventure, but it's a fun adventure if you're the game mother, a very tense and time-pressured scenario if you are part of the crew. There are pre-gens for this. However, this will work with the group you have brought together. Your game mother will ask what's the story, or will relay what the story is to you, and from there you go into this eyes wide open, and yet, as I say, no spoilers. But what about beyond this? What about the core rulebook? What's next? What else is out there? They released, and as you see, Andrew E.C. Gasco, and that name will pop up recurringly along with the Free League logo, Chariot of the Gods. You are part of a crew that is investigating a distress call. Sounds a bit familiar. And you go on board and you find out what the situation is on board this ship you've discovered. Again, this isn't a breakdown of Chariot of the Gods, because after that, they've released something allowing you to embody the United States Colonial Marines. Destroyer of Worlds takes place on Ariakus and centered around Fort Nebraska. You can see, using these maps, and these are the ones provided in the adventure, that is all zonal. Yes, it does have an indication how much space each tiny grid takes up, but in real terms, in gameplay terms, that doesn't change anything in that respect. You don't need to count the squares. You just need to understand when you're moving from one zone to the next. Your game mother should be describing it easily where your positioning is compared to where your opponent or obstacle or threat is, and then you move around and the scenario changes as your characters move. We don't need to worry if you're within 30 feet. It's, are they in the same section I am? Are they in the next section? Are there obstacles in the way? Is there cover, which changes the modifiers for getting hit by enemy fire, for example, or a claw strike, or other skittery and dangerous things that may be in the vent ducts and the conduits. To really drill down, Colonial Marines Operations Manual allows you to specialize. You become a military operational specialist. You become an AFV Marine, so driver of the armored sort of tank personnel carrier. You can become an auto rifleman, an automatic rifleman, so a smart gunner. You can become an assault marine, so a breacher, so breaking in down the doors, shop sharp tactics in maybe urban areas. You can become a comtech. You can become a CBRN specialist, so chemical, biological, radiation and nuclear specialist, going in and understanding what is happening in the scene, maybe part of an investigation or in the aftermath of an attack or anything like that. You become a drop ship crew chief, in charge of the winch, so you and a pilot could work together, in charge of deploying teams, taking charge of the gun within a chain drop ship. You could also become a dedicated marksman, so become that sniper that you've always wanted to be in other games. This one allows you to really specialize down. The gear supports it with the rifles and scopes and ghillie suits and other equipment that allows you to be that person. You can also be a hospital corpsman, so taking that medic and pushing it into the field role. Medic is fine in a med lab, but maybe you want to be the one out there with the med packs, giving out potentially life-saving care and aid out on the front lines for that fire team. That could be you. You can also be a forward observer, so working with the dedicated marksman. You've got your spotter and gunner there as a team. Or you could be, I don't want to say bog standard, but you could be rank and file rifleman. You could be like aliens. You could be toes on the line, keeping it frosty, getting out there and deploying. You provide all-round versatile cover. Your specialty is your versatility. At time of recording, Free League's latest release for the Alien RPG is this, The Heart of Darkness. The Heart of Darkness takes place on a orbiting space station, Erebos, that is under duress, we shall say. Again, if you want to dig into this properly, there's a full review of there's full information without spoilers on the Free League website. Link will be in the description below. Again, written by Andrew E.C. Gasker, and there's a nice touchstone in this one. I mentioned earlier, you could play a kid, a bit like in Aliens. Well, in Heart of Darkness, if your game mother is up for it and wants to sort of mix it up and not necessarily take away from the tension that the game brings, just a different style, you can play, as it says there, be the cat. Play as Adrian. Now, Adrian, or a cat named very similar as you may wish, is based on Andrew E.C. Gasker's own cat. So there's a nice buy in there for not only continuity, but also a little bit of personal touch and humour brought into the role-playing game. Now, I mentioned Erebus, the setting for Heart of Darkness, and to give you an idea of how that breaks down, to give a grander scale of this adventure. This is just part of the map. There are 4 maps. You have Erebus the station, and you have this lifeboat, the Cronus. So you can sort of reuse these maps as often as you like. You can see they're all zonal. You can see compartments and what you would expect on a space-faring vessel within the world of Alien. So we've gone through the basics of the game, an introduction. Free League have done such an amazing job with this. Thomas, who I have interviewed for the podcast, so you can go back and listen to that and all the other things that that Free League have been releasing. But for Alien specifically, I've spoken to Thomas and I've spoken to Andrew Gasker as well to give you an overview of some of their work. You can see on the screen the dice, the starter set, which has pre-generated characters, an adventure. It comes with these. So if you ping up on your motion tracker, then you can discover, if you are successful and the battery doesn't run out, whether it's someone you need to be wary of, or something you need to be terrified of. But these tokens, and here's another one, just to sort of fill out the scale, it's all the same size. Mention space combat. So what if you get a ping on your spaceship sensors? It turns out to be a ship. Something to investigate. So with the starter set there, the dice, the Colonial Marines Operations Manual, there's the core rulebook with Hadley's Hope, or Hope's Last Day, set on Hadley's Hope, and the Heart of Darkness box, which in it has more pre-generated characters. It has the adventure. It has the map of Erebos. It is beautifully made and well worth checking out. That pretty much covers Alien. For what is available at the moment, how to play it, it's a very simple, very straightforward D6 dice pool system, the Year Zero engine, but that stress mechanic allows the tension round the table to build up. While weapons don't necessarily run out of ammo, you could panic and empty the clip, as it were, or drop that weapon. Because it is used zonal for movement rather than dedicated squares, you can never be 100% sure if you are safe. The Alien RPG, similar to Twilight 2000 and a few of the other Free League publishing releases, uses a deck of cards for initiative. Again, your game mother may decide that that style of initiative is not for them and may pitch that at a session 0. As always, safety and calibration tools are a must when you're playing games like this. There are things that look like space spiders all the way up to brain-eating, acid-spilling aliens. So session 0 for this game is important, as it is with every TTRPG. And that pretty much covers the Alien RPG for Fly Like a D6. So if you like what we do here, please like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when we're going to release more videos. We are working on so many different TTRPGs to review, and we'll be getting those videos up and out. Links will be in the description for Free League Publishing, and you can even have a look on places like Amazon and other book retailers. For any local game stores may sell them. Some of the stories linked to Alien that have been released in the last couple of years have adventures tucked in the back that you can use to run as part of the Alien role-playing game scenario. I look forward to speaking to you again. Bye for now.